So when you look at yourself, what do you see, Steph?
I see this sad person who is just warped away.
I didn't love myself at all. I didn't want to look in mirrors.
And you don't see reality, because reality should not be doing this to me.
But they helped me to learn to love myself, and they encouraged me to live life again.
My story isn't based on what I look like on the outside.
It is hard to explain how it feels to have a traumatic brain injury.
The world, or what you thought you knew, had to relearn everything as simple as tying a shoe.
A very important part of our new lives is that we are together in Dr. Spitz's pit.
We call the groups the pit. That's a place where you feel fully validated and understood by other people.
Sometimes people fall in a pit or get stuck in a pit and can't necessarily find their way out.
The group is sort of instant friends.
If there are other people stuck in the pit with you, then you know you're not alone.
Almost every 2 weeks, I encounter an inconceivable situation in which a young person has a brain injury.
I worked in a TV production. I was away on a business trip and I wasn't feeling so hot. It was the beginnings of a stroke.
Suddenly, my whole life was turned upside down when my daughter had a stroke.
When we were in the hospital and I saw what state he was in such a bad state. He couldn't talk, he couldn't even think. He would try to text and he was just writing gibberish on the phone.
It is devastating. It happens abruptly without any warning. And I know that this person's life is never going to be the same.
Outpatient services is kind of a bridge between, you know, being in the hospital in the acute stage and the rest of your life.
Physical therapy came pretty easy for me. It's the occupational therapy for my arm that's taken a little bit of time. The 5K helped me out a lot because it made me realize if I could do that, there's a lot more things that I could do. It's basically to raise money for Burke, help everyone with TBI and whatever other medical issues.
Young people with brain injuries are entering the peak busy time of their lives. They are just inventing themselves. And when their life abruptly, just like that, comes to a halt, it is much harder than when you're older.
Most of us were living independently and working and playing and taking care of our own lives. And now we had to take this giant step backwards.
Wish people understood a lot of things about me. Not everybody's gonna look at me and say like, oh, there's something wrong with that person. You're not sure if other people are noticing, and then you're thinking about it, and then you're wondering if they're thinking about it.
My personal history begins when I was 16 years old. I had an arteriovenous malformation, basically rupture in my head. At the time, my biggest hurdle was really being 16, a competitive athlete, youngest of 3 boys. That was kind of lost very quickly.
If I was in a wheelchair, people would be kinder, but they're not, because they don't know how to treat somebody with an invisible injury.
I was dealing with it by myself, no help. So going to them and going to that group is the best decision I ever made.
When I look back, I would have loved to be a part of the Brainiacs. It really kind of validates these individuals as human beings with aspirations, and I think they feed off each other, and it's a support system that I didn't have.
There are lots of people that have said to me that you are their inspiration. What do you say when you hear that?
It makes me feel empowered. It makes me feel wanted. That to me is sacred.
Seeing that our group has already helped people, nobody feels like they're in that pit alone.
If our society learned to recognize these injuries, we would be able to diagnose them and treat them, and many more people would be able to have fulfilling lives.
I want to be the person that I was. I'm still a 26-year-old, basically a kid. I mean, everyone calls you an adult, but you're a kid.
Some of the others in my group are further along in their recovery, so that makes me feel hopeful.
Daniela is a sweet person, and I love her dearly. And together, we make a great team. The tough love that I give her is because I love her, and I know how she feels. I was there.
I love my work because I can see the changes in people's lives, and I help instill that environment that human contact and human interaction inspire me in many different ways.
The old me no longer exists anymore. And everything now is changed. But for me, it's for the better. I hear birds, I see flowers bloom, music sounds different to me. Everything's different, and I cherish things more than I did before.